Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Belle Epoque Collection. Today I'm going to be talking about an iconic Australian artist, designer, performer and socialite, Florence Broadhurst. Florence Maud Broadhurst was born in the small farming town of Mount Perry in rural Queensland in 1899. From a young age, she yearned for bigger things and joined a travelling entertainment troupe where she performed as a singer, touring Southeast Asia. By 1926, she had settled in Shanghai where she opened her own academy, the Broadhurst Academy, offering tuition in singing, dancing, musical instruments and journalism. In 1929, she moved to London and married Percy Cairn, an English stockbroker. They co-directed a fashion boutique in Mayfair where she designed clothing. However, Broadhurst couldn't stand the static married life and left the business and Percy after meeting a diesel engineer, Leonard Lewis, in the late 1930s. Following World War II, she returned to Australia in 1949 with her new husband, Leonard, and their young son, basing herself in Manly. She immediately made a splash in the society pages, frequenting popular social events under the false guise of an Englishwoman. Broadhurst's lie was believed by the gullible press, who were charmed by this exotic, charismatic woman. In the early 1950s, having infiltrated the modern artist circles in Sydney, a reinvigorated Broadhurst decided that she wanted to become an artist, a painter. She was driven to produce her own vision of Australia, so over the next 2 years, she travelled around northern and central Australia, producing some 114 landscape paintings. She held solo exhibitions of her Paintings of Australia series in 1954 at David Jones's Art Gallery in Sydney, as well as solo and group shows at galleries in Brisbane and Canberra. This stunning landscape is called Bottle Trees, produced around 1950. It is one of the most impressive works Broadhurst completed in her travels around Australia. It was exhibited at the David Jones Gallery in 1954 and retains its original rustic frame. In 1959, following a chance meeting with a tenant in one of her properties, Broadhurst established her greatest artistic legacy, the work she is best remembered for.
Wallpaper these days looks very different to the way it looked 20 or 30 years ago. And I think in Australia we're very lucky to have a person who I should think is the finest producer of wallpaper in the whole world, and that's Florence Broadhurst. Miss Broadhurst, thank you for inviting us to the studio today.
It's a pleasure. Yes. It's my pleasure.
You have someone here who makes a design, and then
I design everything, and we draw them on, yes, and we have people here who, John in particular, who draws up the design. You have to draw it up, it has to match in all four ways. It's the sort of thing we're doing now.
Well, it's marvellous, it's all geometric, isn't it?
Yes, well, that's the new look, the geometric look. This is blocks that look like blocks. It's very good for a commercial job. Yes. I would recommend it for a private house. That is very good for a bar room, I would say, in the colours.
Yes.
It has movement, it has good design and movement.
With a small staff, she designed, manufactured and marketed locally produced wallpaper with vivid combinations of colours inspired by an eclectic range of sources. Brightly coloured peacocks were a feature, as were bold geometrical, striped and floral designs. When she upgraded to a larger factory in Paddington in 1969, Florence Broadhurst Wallpapers Proprietary Limited was exporting all over the world and contained around 800 designs in 80 different colourways. Broadhurst had become an international design icon. However, Broadhurst's fortune and success was to end abruptly and prematurely on the 15th of October 1977. When she was brutally murdered in her studio.
The investigations are, of course, continuing into Mrs. Broadhurst's murder. And while police say at this stage they have an open mind about the case, I've learned that they're investigating at least 2 lines of inquiry.
Well, at this stage, we're appealing for any persons who may have been here on Saturday.
Broadhurst was alone at the time, and the evidence suggested that the suspect was welcomed into her property and that she even personally knew her killer. But to this day, the murderer has never been caught, a tragic and devastating blow for the Australian arts community and the loss of one of the most influential designers of the 20th century. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Belle Epoque Collection, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing this incredible original work by an Australian icon. And I hope to see you next time. Take care.